Oh, it's ugly out. Makes it really difficult to take out the zip or ride a Harley. Gotta love Oregon. You should have seen the look on my mom's face when I told her for Christmas I wanted a white fire extinguisher. So I'm getting ready to install this in the zip. It's something that you're legally required in Oregon, if not throughout the US, to have on any power boat, is an extinguisher. And here we are a solid year into owning the zip, and I still don't have an extinguisher until now. So we're getting ready to install that. Nakoa is putting his cordless tools into his little rollaway. So just a boys' night in the garage. So those are the tools required to install that fire extinguisher. Just some tape to get everything centered up and a tape measure. Phillips screwdriver, and that's about it. I grabbed a couple of number 6 by 3/4 inch stainless screws, leftovers from building the boat. I centered the fire extinguisher up on the plank. Got it snugged up as close as I can get it to the back of the box so it doesn't really take up too much real estate in the back seat here. There we are, there's the front of the zip. But that's where I mounted it, right behind the speaker box on the floorboards of the rear cockpit. Plenty of room back here still. Looks awesome. One more thing off the list. Well, we got a box full of goodies that showed up today. New set of mirrors. They are not factory Harley-Davidson mirrors. They're an aftermarket. They look exactly like them, but mirrors were something I wanted to replace on the bike. These are starting to get pitted, not terribly, but the main reason is the left mirror. I cannot adjust it and have it stay where I want it to. Every time I adjust it to where I need it to be, it'll actually vibrate and fall down. And so I've got the mirror in a place where it won't vibrate and fall down, but it also doesn't do me any damn good because I can't see out of it. So new mirrors were in order. This is a quick release docking kit for a backrest or for like a luggage rack or something like that. I plan on hardtailing this bike. I've talked about that in the past. I planned on doing it this winter, but it just wasn't in the cards. So I've got another summer of riding this thing. And I wanted to take a trip or two, you know, not real long, maybe 400 or 500 miles, something like that. But I needed some space to pack stuff. And I thought, what better way than if I were to throw a backrest like sissy bar style on here temporarily. I don't like the look. This thing had a backrest on it, permanent, when I bought it, and I didn't like the look at all. So the point of the backrest is not for passengers. It is just to tie stuff to in the event, you know, I take a trip where I need some extra storage, mostly for a fuel can. Secondary reason would be for clothing or things like that. And I've got up in the rafters here the old sissy bar with quick release bases on it. Anyhow, so I don't like sissy bars. I don't like, you know, backrests. But just as a function over form kind of a deal, it'll come in handy. Let's see, what else? Got a passenger pillion. This is just suction cups. So on occasion, back when I had the 2-up seat on here, my son wanted to go for rides around town, and I did take him for rides around town. Now I don't have that, you know, obviously the passenger half of that seat because I just cut it off and discarded it. So this will give me a way just to throw that guy on there real quick. My pegs are still here, obviously. And he can ride around with me, or anybody for that matter, my daughter or whoever wants to. So that's just something that in the event somebody wants to ride, I can slap on real quick and we can go. New set of brakes, brake pads. Those are EBC H-centered pads. The reason I got those is because the pads that are currently on the bike are some used ones that I took out of the old caliper when I put this front end on. The reason I used them is because they were in better shape than the ones that were in there. So we finally got some real brake pads. We should be able to get some life out of those. You know, another, hell, I don't know, 5,000 miles or so, maybe more. Just a guess here. And then the last thing in the box is some new wheel bearing seals or grease seals. 4 of them. 2 for the front wheel, 2 for the rear wheel. So when I picked up these wheels, I picked them up used, at a garage sale with a box of other miscellaneous crap. This stuff all came off of a 99 Dyna with a twin cam in it. Very little else in the box is useful to me, but the wheels I was most interested in. I love the small diameter hub, the 21 to 16 spoked rear instead of that ugly old disc that was on it. So everything about these wheels I like. I just threw them on here and ran it. I didn't even grease the bearings. So the grease that's in these bearings, who knows how old it is, probably factory grease from 99, I don't know. But I really, really wanted to grease these wheel bearings. And in order to grease them, I've got to pull the seals. And when you pull the seals, you generally ruin the seals. So I bought 4 new seals. So that's what I'm getting ready to do tonight. So I've got the front wheel off of the bike, as you can see. Got it sitting here on a bucket. I have popped the seal out, removed the bearing, and then I cleaned huge amounts of ugly old nasty black grease out of that hole. Here's a look at the old seal. You can see that grease was just nasty. I then took the bearing and dumped a little bit of gasoline, just regular old gasoline, in a pan with a little scrub brush, dunked the bearing in it, scrubbed her around, got all of the old nasty grease out of it, and it's sitting right up here. It is a Timken. This is, I would assume, a factory bearing. It's in really, really nice shape. So I'm getting ready just to repack it. We'll drop it back in, we'll tap in a new seal, and flip the wheel over and do the other side. So we've got some grease, I've got the bearing here, and we're just gonna pack it. Now you can pack from either direction, but you just grab it, and we're just gonna take little small bites, just like this, taking tiny little bites. And what that does is it hydraulically forces the grease up inside of that bearing. I'm just gonna keep taking little bites. My stepdad showed me this years and years and years ago. You just keep taking little bites. Almost there. Almost there. And there, if you look, you might be able to see little tiny blobs of red grease coming up on the inside of that race. So now we'll just rotate it and start packing that. So we now have the front wheel with fresh grease, brand new seals, reinstalled on the bike, blue Loctite on every fastener, snugged down, and we have the rear off now. I popped the seal out, and here's kind of a look. Hopefully it'll focus on that nasty old black ugly grease. It's exactly what the front looked like. So now I'm getting ready to clean these up. Repack, new seals, back together. So we now have the rear wheel reinstalled, fresh grease in the bearings, new seals, and then I took a few minutes to install the quick disconnect mounts, little brackets, and there's a look at it with the backrest and the little passenger pillion shoved in between the two. But yeah, 2 quick little buttons in the back. This lifts up and falls right off. Perfect, because I think it looks ugly as shit. But that's on and done. My brackets anyhow. I'm getting ready to take this back off now. And then we got our mirrors mounted up here. So mirrors are done. It's been a pretty productive night. This is all the same night. So really all I'm down to is installing the brake pads, and everything that came in this batch is done and on. Pretty cool. So here it is just a few seconds later. Just pop the 2 bins, lift it up forward, and then out it slides. There's a look at the little clips. Pretty cool. So we now have the new brake pads installed. You can see them up there. So that was the last thing that we had to do parts-wise that showed up out of this batch. So I'm tired. Been out in the garage ever since I got home from work. Took me about 4 hours to do all of this tonight. Not bad though, pretty darn good progress for the amount of work that there was to do. So one thing I have absolutely despised on this bike since day one is this gigantic, ugly, canned ham, as I like to call it, and other people call it too, air filter, air cleaner, housing, assembly, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand the canned ham. It looks terrible. Now this one, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. Probably not. Yeah, barely. It's already been stage 1'd. So from the factory, these things have, you know, big old plastic rear cover, and this is really restricted. So when you stage 1 these things, basically they open it up. So it's free flow, it's a different backing plate. So it looks stock, but it's not. It breathes 100 times better, and it has a washable, like K&N style filter in it. Even so, I still think it looks like crap. And nothing to me says bobber or chopper more than an S&S teardrop. Oh, that is so awesome. So pretty. So here's another part that showed up that we ordered. I'm getting ready to put this on. Once I get the old one off, we'll pick back up and I'll show you something I'm going to do a little bit different. But yeah, no more canned ham. S&S awesome. We now have the canned ham cover off and filter removed. And here you can see the fatal flaw. See all this oil down here and here? Basically, this bolt and this bolt go clear through into the head, and they're hollow. So that is a vent for the head. So anytime the bike is running, and especially if you're hammering down on it, you're getting finite amounts of oil mist coming out of these inside your filter. A large portion of that gets sucked back in and reburnt, but not all of it. Hence the dripping oil. So this is, you know, it was done to meet emissions, I'm sure of it. The new S&S filter has a system a lot like this. We're going to modify it, and we're going to vent to atmosphere. No more sucking that misty oil back into the engine. We now have the S&S air cleaner adapter bolted onto the stock CV carb. And this kit comes with these little rubber S hoses that are supposed to plug onto this breather and then plug onto these, and then again it would just recycle that I guess we'll call it blow-by. It would recycle that back into the intake and get sucked back into the intake. I didn't like that. So I did what should have been done from the factory, and that is I went and bought some hose, fuel line, and I bought a brass T, and I ran both sides down into this T and then out the T around the front of the bike, and that actually drops underneath. You can see right there, vents underneath the bike. So we just basically vented it to atmosphere. No more sucking in oil mist into the carburetor and burning it. So now we're getting ready to put our brackets on and bolt the backing plate on and finish her up. But that's a modification I made. Much, much better. Oh, that's more like it. Now we're talking. Look at that. Freaking sweet. Way better. No more canned ham. Love it. Let's tear it open. I know what it is. Are you ready? Are you ready? Check that out. The Glen-l Bergy. How sweet is that? So that's going to go right up there on the drumstick on the front of the boat. Been waiting a long time for that. How freaking cool is that? I'm so excited. So to attach my Bergy to the little flag mast up here on the bow, I knew I wanted to use these little screw-in eyelets. Now I was hoping to find stainless and welded. These aren't. They're zinc-plated steel, and they're just bent over. But they have 40-pound rating per eyelet, so we're talking 80 pounds worth of, you know, pull. There's no way my little Bergy flag is ever going to do that. The weak link will actually probably be the threads into the wood staff. So then we're going to pilot hole and screw those into the flagstaff. And then to attach it to the Bergy, I picked up these right here. These are Brad's Duo locks, and they're just fishing snaps is what they are. but each side unsnaps. So you can unsnap the big half and, you know, slip the flag out of it, or unsnap the little half to slip on and off the eyelet. So they're pretty cool. A 12-pack of these is $3.50. They're stainless. They're made in the USA, which I love. But there's a ton of them in there. They're going to probably last me the lifetime of the boat. They'll far outlast the Bergy itself. And they're rated for 80 pounds each of pull. So 160 pounds between the two of holding that flag on. You know, so the weak link is going to be actually this steel here at 40 pounds, and even more so the wood that they're screwed into. So really this combination will be stronger than you could ever possibly, you know, need, really, but whatever. I think it'll look really clean, and then I just kind of snapped one together real quick so you get an idea how it's going to look, you know. That snaps on. They're really small and thin and look good, and then it'll just screw right into the flagstaff. So I'm getting ready to do that. I'm going to pull the flagstaff out of this, and it just pops into a female socket, that's all. So we'll pop that out and lay out our centers, pilot drill them, screw these in, probably with a little dab of wood glue on them, and install the flag. So we'll be done with that here in just a minute. Okay, so we have, as you can see, removed the flag mast. I pilot drilled holes, screwed in each one of the little eyelets, and I applied a small amount of wood glue onto the threads of each one of those eyelets. Something else I did, you can see this one is buried all the way up to the opening of the loop. But this one is sticking out about 150 thousandths. And I did that actually based on the taper of that pole. So I measured the diameter down here, measured the diameter up here. It turned out to be about 300 thousandths difference. Cut that in half at 150 thousandths, and I left this stick out about 150 thousandths to make up for that taper, so the flag will still hang straight. Anyhow, so there's where we are. I'm just going to take my little snaps now and attach the Bergy, and we'll take a look at it here in just a minute. Done. So there we are with the Bergy attached. Looks freaking awesome. I love it. One other thing I did here is I ran some tape across the top here and around the bottom of the flagpole for two reasons. One, it showed me when the flagpole was fully inserted, which I needed to know. And also, I drew a line up the vertical and across the horizontal to align it. So when I took it over to drill the holes, I knew exactly where bottom was on the staff. And also to realign it. And also to make sure it was fully seated. So we're done. We're done. The Bergy is mounted. It looks awesome. Freaking awesome. So, what's left? What's left? I think really the last thing that's left on the zip, and I know I've said this about 8 times, I think all that's left is the bilge pumps. I think that's it. And again, the bilge pumps are wired to our GM headlight switch to the second pole. First pole is running light, second pole activates through a fuse. Wires that are already pulled to the back of the boat, they're already here waiting for bilge pumps. I think that's it. I think that is the official last thing to do to the zip. Oh, that Bergy looks awesome. Anyhow, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you guys sometime on another video.